James Webb Space Telescope, which was pointed towards the planet.
The buzz in the scientific world just got a lot louder, and this time, it's not another blurry UFO video or a clickbait headline. It's the James Webb Space Telescope, the $10 billion floating eye that astronomers practically treat like a cosmic oracle, coming through with what might be the clearest clue yet that something out there might actually be alive. Could this be the breakthrough we've all been waiting for? Let's break it down and dive into the details. Planet K2-18b. Before anyone starts packing for Mars or designing welcome signs for ET, let's clear one thing up. This isn't definitive proof of alien life. What scientists have found is more like a whisper, a subtle hint that there could be some kind of biological activity happening on a distant planet. It's not waving, but it might be winking. That hint came from the detection of a gas called dimethyl sulfide, or DMS. Now, here's why that's a big deal. On Earth, the only known producers of DMS are living organisms, specifically marine microbes. No volcanoes, no rock formations, just tiny life forms. So when this chemical turns up in the atmosphere of a planet 124 light-years away, scientists naturally start raising their eyebrows. Hard. The planet in question is called K2-18b, and while the name sounds like a droid from Star Wars, it's actually a real planet orbiting a star in a habitable zone. That means the planet is at just the right distance from its star to possibly support liquid water, a major requirement for life as we know it. Think of it as the Goldilocks zone, where it's not too hot and not too cold. K2-18b isn't just some random chunk of rock floating in the void. It's what scientists call a Hycean world, a mix between a hydrogen-rich atmosphere and an ocean-covered surface.
It's 700 trillion miles away from Earth, just over 2.5 times larger and roughly the same temperature.
Basically, a steamy, watery place that could be very welcoming to microbial life, at least in theory. The James Webb Telescope is doing more than just snapping space selfies. It's collecting data that could rewrite what we know about the universe. In this case, it picked up the chemical signature of DMS by studying the planet's atmosphere. This is like reading a planet's breath from across the galaxy and noticing it smells a little alive. And it's not just DMS. The telescope also found carbon dioxide and methane, other gases that, on Earth, are heavily linked to living processes. This cocktail of gases has scientists cautiously optimistic because it resembles the kind of atmospheric mix you might expect from a planet that has some form of biology going on. The researchers behind the discovery are calling this the strongest evidence yet of life outside our solar system. They're not throwing confetti, but they're definitely leaning in. The lead astronomers say they're about 99.7% confident in the data, but they want that number to edge closer to 99.9% before they go full sci-fi on us. They're hoping that, with more observation time on James Webb, they can push the confidence level high enough to meet that gold standard of scientific proof, beyond reasonable doubt. Until then, it's a promising lead, not a confirmation. Not everyone is ready to join the alien fan club just yet. Some scientists are waving the caution flag, reminding everyone that this is just one step in a long process. Independent teams need to confirm the findings, and more data needs to be collected. In science, one exciting result doesn't get to rule the galaxy. They're also pointing out that DMS might have other non-biological origins that we simply don't understand yet. So, while it's tempting to jump to conclusions, the scientific method demands patience, repetition, and a healthy dose of skepticism. Why this matters, even if it's not aliens. Even if it turns out that there's no life on K2-18b, the fact that we can even detect possible biosignatures from so far away is a major leap forward. The James Webb Telescope has proven that we now have the tools to seriously investigate other worlds, not just imagine them. This discovery means the search for alien life has moved from wild speculation to data-driven exploration. It's like going from ghost stories to forensic science. And in that world, even the faintest chemical footprint can make headlines. Scientists are already lining up new targets. K2-18b might just be the first of many Hycean planets under scrutiny. With the telescope in full swing, they're scanning the skies for similar chemical signatures that could suggest life is not just possible, but maybe even common in the universe. And of course, if the DMS finding holds up, it'll be one for the history books. The moment humanity realized we might not be alone, thanks to a gas once only associated with Earth's oceans. It begins with a gas. Not the kind that fuels cars or fills balloons, but a strange, invisible whisper in the atmosphere of a faraway planet. Something oddly familiar, yet completely alien. Scientists here in the UK say they've just picked up the strongest sign yet that life, in some form, might exist beyond our solar system. The James Webb Space Telescope, now casually changing the game of astronomy from 1.5 million kilometers away, has detected something in the clouds of a distant world that, on Earth, only living things create. At the center of this scientific buzz is dimethyl sulfide, or DMS. On Earth, it's a compound produced by marine bacteria, tiny ocean dwellers we barely think about, but owe a lot to. Now, researchers have spotted the faint chemical fingerprints of this same gas in the atmosphere of a planet orbiting another star. Professor Nick Hewson, an astrophysicist from the University of Cambridge and the lead researcher on this study, explained that their team also found signs of a second gas, dimethyl disulfide, which follows the same rulebook. On Earth, it's only tied to biological activity, but he urged caution. While this is the strongest lead yet, the team doesn't want to overpromise before they eliminate every non-biological explanation. Still, he admitted, it's hard not to be excited when the atmosphere of a planet hundreds of trillions of miles away smells oddly alive. The method they used is called the transit technique. It's surprisingly elegant for something so deeply complicated. As a planet passes in front of its star, something it does on a regular orbit-based schedule, a tiny portion of the starlight filters through the planet's atmosphere before it reaches our telescopes. That filtered light carries a chemical signature, a kind of glowing barcode. By breaking down that light, astronomers can read the gases in the atmosphere and detect what's present, even if the planet is 124 light-years away. Nick described the process like watching a cosmic fingerprint take shape every time that planet completes a lap around its sun. And when they examined that print, DMS showed up, faint but consistent. The data, he said, was collected using the James Webb Space Telescope, the most advanced observatory ever launched into space. Unlike earlier telescopes, James Webb doesn't just see stars, it listens to their atmospheres, and sometimes hears things we didn't know to expect. The planet in question is K2-18b, an exoplanet that's been on the scientific radar for a while. It's what researchers call a Hycean world, an ocean-covered planet with a hydrogen-rich atmosphere. That combination makes it a prime candidate in the hunt for extraterrestrial life. The planet orbits in what scientists call the habitable zone, where temperatures could support liquid water. That zone, in space speak, is the planetary version of the sweet spot. Not too hot, not too cold, but just right for life to potentially thrive. K2-18b is larger than Earth, more like a mini Neptune in size, but its atmospheric chemistry is what truly sets it apart. Alongside DMS, the researchers also detected carbon dioxide and methane, gases that, on Earth, often signal biological activity. While one gas might be dismissed as coincidence or contamination, three together start to sound like a pattern. The researchers are enthusiastic, but grounded. They run the numbers and are about 99.7% confident in their findings. But they want that confidence to climb to 99.9% before they make any bold declarations. The goal is simple: eliminate any non-living processes that could produce these gases before declaring life. This is also where the scientific community tends to split into two camps. Some are thrilled by the possibility and see it as the most promising lead we've ever had. Others urge restraint, noting that we still don't know all the ways alien planets might behave. What's unusual here could be normal somewhere else. So, as groundbreaking as this might be, no one's carving "we are not alone" into the moon just yet. Life beyond Earth is getting less imaginary. What matters most is that we're not guessing anymore. We're detecting, measuring, analyzing. The search for life has officially graduated from late-night speculation to lab-confirmed possibilities. And with tools like the James Webb Telescope, scientists are now able to scan the skies for chemical traces of life the way detectives dust for prints. Quiet, methodical, and increasingly successful. Nick Husen's team plans to keep observing K2-18b in future cycles, hoping to collect more data and refine their analysis. Meanwhile, the discovery opens a new chapter in space exploration, one that looks less like science fiction and more like science taking its first confident steps into the unknown. So, while no one is saying we've made first contact, it's starting to look like the cosmos might be whispering back, and scientists are finally learning how to listen. The most mind-blowing part of this discovery isn't just that scientists think they might have found signs of life, it's how they managed to do it. Imagine trying to figure out what someone had for breakfast by analyzing the color of the sunlight bouncing off their kitchen window. That's basically what researchers are doing, except the kitchen is a planet 124 light-years away, and the sunlight is beaming through alien clouds before reaching Earth's most powerful space observatory. Nick Husen explained how this works. When a planet passes in front of its star, something called a transit, some of the star's light slips through the planet's atmosphere before it reaches the James Webb Space Telescope. That light carries tiny distortions, like fingerprints smudge across glass. Hidden in those smudges is information about what gases are floating in the planet's air. The telescope picks up changes in the light spectrum, basically how the light stretches or bends as it moves through different substances. Using extremely high-precision instruments, scientists can then analyze how much light is being absorbed at specific wavelengths. That's how they can tell which molecules are doing the absorbing. In this case, it's molecules like dimethyl sulfide, one that on Earth is only produced by living organisms, but it gets even wilder. This method of reading alien atmospheres doesn't just stop at spotting a few molecules. Researchers are now able to estimate other characteristics too. Things like the temperature of the planet, the pressure of its atmosphere, and the concentration of other gases like methane and carbon dioxide, all from the way a star's light is shaped and altered as it travels through that atmosphere. When K2-18b crosses its star, the light we see from that star gets slightly modified. The gases in the planet's atmosphere leave their mark, kind of like how stained glass changes sunlight's color. The team can see those changes in the light spectrum and match them to known gases, even if those gases are hundreds of trillions of miles away. Nick said that it's phenomenal they're able to do this with such accuracy right now. Just a few years ago, this would have been pure science fiction. Now, it's daily business for the James Webb Telescope. Thanks to this new level of precision, scientists are starting to build weather reports for planets they'll never visit. They're able to sketch out what the skies might look like, what temperatures sweep across the surface, how thick the clouds are, and what strange invisible things fill the air. In the case of K2-18b, all signs point toward a humid, hydrogen-rich atmosphere, possibly with clouds and oceans, and the gases floating through it, especially the ones linked to life, are sparking serious attention. Even without stepping foot on this world, or sending a probe, humanity is now piecing together what it's made of. It's like learning someone's personality just from the tone of their voice, but with much higher stakes and light years of separation. And the signals keep coming. Every pass of the planet, every flicker of altered starlight adds to a growing puzzle. With more transits and more observations, scientists hope to create a full atmospheric profile that could one day offer a simple but history-making answer. Is something alive out there? For now, they continue to watch, measure, and wait for the light to speak again. Right now, scientists are chasing one of the biggest questions in human history with the kind of precision you'd usually reserve for rocket launches or brain surgery. They're not just speculating about life on another planet, they're following a trail of chemical evidence that's getting harder and harder to ignore. And at the heart of it is K2-18b, a planet more than 120 light-years away that's been quietly making headlines for what's floating in its atmosphere. 2 years ago, in 2023, the first big clue showed up.
On Earth, the chemicals are produced by ocean plankton and other microorganisms.
Researchers spotted carbon-bearing molecules, specifically methane and carbon dioxide, using a completely different telescope setup. At the same time, they noticed something equally important: the absence of certain gases like ammonia and carbon monoxide. That strange combination sparked debate across the scientific community. The patterns didn't add up unless you assumed something pretty unusual about the planet itself. The Viking experiments. This isn't the first time humanity has stared down the barrel of a discovery that could have changed everything. Back in 1976, NASA's Viking landers touched down on Mars with one audacious goal: to search for life. The mission carried a set of biology experiments designed to detect microbial activity in Martian soil. And one of those tests, the labeled release experiment, gave a result that made the scientific world pause.
When we sent the Viking missions to Mars in the 1970s, we were able to analyze the composition of the Martian atmosphere.
The experiment showed what looked like metabolic activity, carbon dioxide being released, as if microbes had just been fed. For a fleeting moment, some scientists believed they had it, proof that Mars harbored life. But the excitement didn't last. Other instruments on the landers failed to detect organic molecules, which seemed to contradict the first result. So NASA decided to play it safe. The official stance became no conclusive evidence of life on Mars. But the debate never really died. In the years that followed, some of the scientists involved, including Gilbert Levine, stood by the idea that the Viking mission had actually found life.
They found microorganisms living and metabolizing and reproducing.
And that the result was dismissed too quickly. Others argued that the soil's chemical reactivity, possibly due to perch laurets, could explain the reaction without requiring biology. It's a reminder that when it comes to signs of life, science doesn't rush. It waits. It questions itself again and again. The legacy of the Viking landers still lingers in how current missions are handled. It taught scientists that even a positive result needs layers of confirmation before anyone dares utter the word life. That's partly why discoveries today are held to such extreme standards, like the 5 sigma level of certainty. They remember how fast hope can turn into confusion when all the data doesn't align. The Viking case also influenced how new tools are designed. The next generation of instruments, on missions like the Mars Perseverance rover or the upcoming ESA Rosalind Franklin rover, are built not just to detect potential life, but to explain it. They carry instruments that can analyze organic chemistry with greater precision and search for patterns that are harder to dismiss. So when scientists talk today about strange molecules in the atmosphere of distant exoplanets, like phosphine on Venus or methane spikes on Mars, they do so with one eye on the future and the other locked on history. They know how easy it is to misinterpret results. They also know how powerful the confirmation would be if it turns out to be true. Because if biology really is out there, it's likely we've already brushed up against it. Maybe it was in a single molecule on a Martian rock. Maybe it was in the cloud decks of Venus. And maybe, just maybe, we missed it because we weren't ready to believe what we were seeing. Now, the world is watching again, but this time science is moving forward with a little more wisdom and a lot more curiosity. The ALH 4001 meteorite. In 1996, scientists made a groundbreaking discovery when they examined a meteorite known as ALH 4001, which was found in Antarctica. The rock was believed to have originated from Mars, having been ejected from the red planet millions of years ago due to an impact event. Upon closer inspection, researchers found microscopic structures within the meteorite that closely resembled fossils of ancient bacteria. The shapes and sizes of these features appeared similar to the microbial life forms that exist on Earth, raising the possibility that Mars may have supported microbial life in the past. The initial excitement surrounding the discovery was immense, with some scientists suggesting that these findings were evidence of ancient Martian life. They pointed to the presence of carbonates, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and other organic molecules in the rock, materials that are often associated with biological processes on Earth. The researchers even proposed that liquid water, a key ingredient for life, may have existed on Mars billions of years ago, providing a habitable environment for microbial organisms. However, the interpretation of the data was far from straightforward. Critics of the findings argued that the structures observed in the meteorite could also be the result of purely geological processes, not necessarily biological ones. Some suggested that the features could have formed through non-biological mechanisms, such as chemical reactions within the rock under extreme conditions. The debate continued for years, with scientists trying to reconcile the evidence for and against the possibility of Martian life. In the end, while no definitive proof of life was found in ALH8 4001,
this rock formed at an important time on Mars when it had water, liquid water on its surface, and also Mars had a magnetic field.
the discovery sparked a renewed interest in the search for life on Mars. It also helped lay the groundwork for future missions to Mars, including the Mars rovers, which continue to explore the planet's surface and search for signs of past or present life. The debate over ALH8 4001 remains a significant chapter in the quest to understand whether Mars could have been, or still could be, a cradle for life. In 2005, the Cassini-Huygens mission delivered one of its most exciting discoveries when the Huygens probe successfully landed on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Titan is a particularly intriguing celestial body because it is the only moon in our solar system known to have a thick atmosphere, primarily composed of nitrogen and methane. The atmosphere is dense and orange-hued due to the presence of complex organic molecules, making Titan resemble a very different, yet intriguing, version of early Earth. The surface temperature on Titan is extremely cold, around -179 degrees Celsius, and the moon is enveloped by a layer of clouds and haze that make it difficult to observe directly. Huygens' descent through Titan's atmosphere provided invaluable data about its chemical composition. As the probe descended, it detected several complex organic compounds in the atmosphere, including hydrocarbons such as ethane and methane. These are crucial because they are building blocks of organic chemistry, which is the chemistry of life. The presence of these molecules suggested that Titan's atmosphere might be capable of supporting prebiotic chemistry, which could, under the right conditions, eventually lead to the development of life. One of the key findings from Huygens was the detection of a variety of organic compounds that might play a role in the formation of complex molecules like amino acids, the building blocks of proteins that are essential for life on Earth. While no direct signs of life were found, the discovery of such complex molecules on Titan was groundbreaking. Scientists began to wonder if Titan's conditions could allow for life to emerge in a completely different form, one that doesn't rely on water like life on Earth does. Instead, Titan's hydrocarbon lakes and rivers, along with its methane-rich atmosphere, could create an environment where life could potentially survive, but in ways unimaginable to us. These findings have significantly influenced the way we think about life beyond Earth. Titan's extreme conditions, its lack of liquid water, extremely low temperatures, and the presence of methane are very different from the environments we associate with life on Earth. Yet, the discovery of these organic compounds suggests that life could arise in environments that we wouldn't typically consider hospitable. In this way, Titan has become a key focus in the search for life elsewhere in the solar system and beyond. The data gathered by the Huygens probe also laid the foundation for future missions to Titan, such as the upcoming Dragonfly mission, which will send a rotorcraft to Titan to explore its surface and investigate its prebiotic chemistry further. Titan continues to be a prime candidate for studying alternative biochemistries and the potential for life in extreme environments. The weight of the unknown. Right now, we look up and see a sky filled with stars, planets, and galaxies, vast and silent, like an enormous museum of physics. But what if it's more than that? What if some of those pinpricks of light are more than just burning gas and rock? What if they're alive? The results they've gotten so far are staggering. Strong signals of gases that, on Earth, are almost exclusively tied to life. But there's still a long road between interesting chemistry and confirmed biology. That road is paved with theory, simulations, and doubt, and the scientists are walking it carefully, they've started designing new experiments to test whether there could be non-living processes that might explain the gases they've found. So far, the answer has been silence. Nothing on Earth has been able to reproduce the sheer quantity of dimethyl sulfide seen on K2-18b. They're going back to the drawing board, sketching every wild theory, testing every far-fetched possibility, because if this finding survives all that, then it deserves to be called real.
That there is a form of extraterrestrial life on a planet called K2-18b.
The researchers aren't making bold claims yet, but the implications are quietly seismic. If one planet shows signs of life, then the galaxy might be full of similar signals just waiting to be read. What once seemed like a dead silence in the void might actually be teeming with breath, chemistry, and biology, life that's evolved under alien skies, using molecules we recognize and maybe some we've never encountered. One of the lead scientists explained how this realization would completely shift our mental picture of space. No longer just cold and distant, it would be alive. A sky not only filled with light, but possibly consciousness, cycles, and ecosystems far beyond our own. It would no longer be the sky above us. It would be the life around us. In science, most discoveries tweak what we already know. This one threatens to flip the table, because for the first time in history, researchers are staring at evidence that biology might not be an Earth-exclusive club. The possibility that life could exist elsewhere in the universe isn't just exciting, it's disruptive. If it's real, it doesn't just add a footnote to our textbooks, it rewrites the entire subject. Until now, physics and chemistry have been universal. They've proven themselves time and time again, from subatomic particles to distant galaxies. But biology? That's been local, fragile, personal. We've only ever observed it here, in the soil under our feet and the oceans that cradle us. So if scientists can prove it exists on another planet, that changes biology from a regional curiosity to a cosmic principle. And that, they believe, is the real scientific jackpot. A blueprint for life. If life really does exist on other planets, even in its simplest form, it would give researchers something they've never had before, a biological control group. Right now, Earth is a case study with no comparison. It's hard to answer how life began when you've only got one example, but with data from other planets, some with life, some without, scientists could start piecing together the conditions that spark biology. Maybe they'll find that life prefers warm oceans, or maybe it thrives in icy clouds. Whatever the answer, it's out there, written across hundreds of planets just waiting to be observed. And if they can track patterns, similar molecules, consistent temperatures, familiar signs, then the origin of life might finally move from a mystery to a measurable science. That alone would be enough to shake every lab on Earth. But there's a deeper impact that has little to do with telescopes or data. If humans learn that life exists elsewhere, it could reshape how we see ourselves. Not as divided nations, cultures, or species, but as a single, collective identity, a living planet in a sea of stars. One of the researchers put it plainly. Once people accept that biology isn't unique to Earth, it forces them to reconsider what it means to be human. It's not about borders anymore. It's not about competition. It's about being representatives of one fragile world. Suddenly, the things that divide us, language, religion, skin, class, feel incredibly small when compared to the fact that we all emerged from the same planet, the same spark, under the same sky. And sure, not everyone will come to this realization overnight. Some will resist it, but the transformation will happen, slowly, then suddenly. The discovery might begin in a lab, but it will echo into art, politics, philosophy, even our sense of purpose. It might lead to international collaboration on a scale we haven't seen before. Why fight over a patch of dirt when there are entire ecosystems forming light years away? Why hoard resources when the real prize is understanding the recipe for life? Even spiritual traditions might shift, challenged by the realization that life isn't just something Earth was gifted. It might be everywhere, and that might just unify people in a way laws and leaders never could. In the end, the researchers aren't just staring through telescopes. They're listening, watching, decoding a sky that may not be dead and cold, but alive with possibilities. This isn't just about alien microbes or distant bacteria. This is about unlocking a truth that's been hidden in plain sight. The idea that life is not Earth's secret, but the universe's signature. The James Webb Space Telescope has just delivered the strongest evidence yet of possible life beyond Earth. With its groundbreaking discoveries of organic molecules on distant exoplanets, we're one step closer to answering the age-old question, are we alone? While there's still more to uncover, these findings are a game changer, bringing us closer to understanding the universe in ways we never imagined.